I 36M, wife, 34F, of 8 years and I are getting divorced. Well, we're officially divorced now, but let me start from the beginning. For context, I work in software development now, decent salary, nothing crazy but comfortable. Emma, not her real name, obviously, worked in marketing for a luxury real estate company. We lived in a nice subdivision in the suburbs, 4-bedroom house that was probably too big for just us, but we got it thinking we'd fill it with kids eventually. That never happened, which looking back was maybe a blessing in disguise. We even had this giant Maine Coon cat named Thor, who was basically our first kid, huge orange fluffball, that would sleep on my chest every night and attack my feet every morning at exactly 5:30 a.m. like clockwork. Emma always said Thor was more my cat than hers. She wasn't wrong. He'd follow me around the house like a dog and would sit in the bathroom sink while I got ready for work. I still miss that cat. She kept him in the divorce, which honestly hurts more than losing the house. Anyway, about 2 months ago, Emma sat me down on our gray sectional, the one we spent 3 weekends shopping for when we first bought the house, if you can believe that, and told me she needed space and wasn't fulfilled in our marriage anymore. Her exact words. Didn't see it coming, but I guess that's how these things go. Fine. These things happen. People grow apart. I was hurt but willing to handle it like adults. I even moved out to give her the space she wanted, crashed at my brother Mike's place. He has this tiny spare room that barely fits a twin bed, but he's been my rock through all this. His wife Sarah has been amazing too, making sure I actually eat something besides DoorDash and beer. Then I discovered she'd been slowly moving our investments into accounts I didn't have access to. Small amounts at first, then larger transfers right before she dropped the divorce bomb. How did I find out? Pure dumb luck. A bank statement came to Mike's place instead of our house, must have been the auto forwarding I set up, and I noticed a transfer I didn't recognize. When I confronted her about it last Saturday, I drove over to pick up more clothes but really to ask about the money. Her reaction still makes my blood boil. We were standing in our kitchen, the one I'd spent weekends renovating last summer with that farmhouse sink she had to have and the quartz countertops that cost more than my first car. I'll take everything in the divorce, she smirked. The house, the cars, our savings. My lawyer says I have a strong case. I stayed calm, asked her why she thought that. Because you've always been financially illiterate, she said, leaning against our kitchen island like she owned the place. Which I guess she thought she soon would. I've been managing everything while you played video games and watched sports. What judge wouldn't side with me? For context, I do play video games to unwind, maybe 5 to 6 hours a week. And yeah, I watch football during the season. Sue me. But I've always contributed equally to our finances, never missed a bill payment in my life. I just nodded, said we'd see how things played out. Went back to Mike's, crushed a six-pack that night and fell asleep on his couch watching reruns of The Office. Fast forward to the following weekend. We were at dinner with our friends, Jamie and Kara, and their partners at this Italian place downtown we used to go to for special occasions. The gathering she insisted on having despite the separation, probably to save face. Everyone was uncomfortable, picking at their pasta and over laughing at anything remotely funny to cut the tension. 3 drinks in, she always gets sloppy after her 3rd glass of Pinot Grigio. My wife started mocking me openly. He doesn't even know what assets we have, she laughed, sloshing her wine dangerously close to Kara's white blouse. You're too stupid to understand business. That's why I handle everything. Our friends looked mortified. Jamie tried changing the subject to their recent trip to Hawaii. Bless him for trying, but Emma wasn't done. He'll be living in his brother's basement while I'm in our house, she continued. Then she put her hand on my shoulder in this condescending way, like I was a child. But don't worry, I might let you have the PlayStation in the settlement. Then she laughed that high-pitched laugh she does when she's tipsy and thinks she's being clever. I just smiled, excused myself, and texted my brother to pick me up, left without saying goodbye. Emma texted me about 20 times that night, first angry, how dare you embarrass me like that, then fake apologetic, I was just joking, you're so sensitive. What my wife doesn't know is that before we got married, I worked in financial forensics for 5 years. I literally helped track hidden assets in high-profile divorce cases before switching to software development because the hours were better and I wanted more work-life balance when we were planning to start a family. I never discussed my previous career much because it wasn't relevant to our daily lives. Plus, Emma always seemed bored whenever I talked about anything finance-related. Now I realize she probably just didn't want me looking too closely at what she was doing with our money. I spent the last 2 weeks documenting every account, every transfer, every conversation. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. before my day job, working on spreadsheets and gathering evidence. Mike would find me passed out at his dining table some mornings, laptop still open to bank records. I hired my old boss as my attorney, one of the top divorce lawyers in the state. Guy charges $500 an hour but he's worth every penny. He's like a bloodhound when it comes to finding hidden money. I've captured screenshots of her moving money, recorded her admissions, we live in a one-party consent state, thankfully, and tracked down the offshore account she thought I'd never find. This morning, her lawyer called mine, frantically asking for an emergency meeting. Apparently, they just discovered my employment history and realized what they're up against. I'm sitting in my car outside my attorney's office right now, watching my phone blow up with texts from my wife. The latest one, we need to talk ASAP. I think there's been a misunderstanding. No. There's been no misunderstanding. She showed me exactly who she is, and I believed her. Now she's about to learn that sometimes the stupid spouse isn't so stupid after all. I'll update after the meeting. Edit. Oh crap. This blew up overnight. My inbox is flooded. Thanks for the support, everyone. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, I have backups of everything stored in multiple secure locations. I'm not an amateur. 2. No, I'm not looking to take everything from her. Just my fair share. I'm not her. 3. We don't have kids, thankfully. Just Thor the cat, who I miss terribly. Meeting is in 30 minutes. We'll update when I can. Update 1. First, thanks everyone for the overwhelming support. Didn't expect my post to blow up like that. The past 48 hours have been absolute chaos, but I promised an update, so here it is. The meeting with the lawyers was something else. I arrived early and waited in my attorney's office, this intimidating corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows and law degrees covering an entire wall. Not gonna lie, felt like I was in an episode of Suits. Wife and her lawyer showed up right on time, her eyes red but chin up. Classic her. She was wearing the navy blue blazer she always wears to important meetings, her power outfit as she calls it. She barely looked at me as she sat down. My attorney didn't waste time. He laid out everything we had, detailed records of every account she'd opened or transferred money to over the past 7 months, including 2 offshore accounts in Belize and the Cayman Islands. I mean, seriously? How cliché can you get with the offshore accounts? Did she learn nothing from watching Ozark with me? The color literally drained from her face with each document slide. It was like watching someone realize they jumped out of a plane without a parachute. These transfers constitute clear attempts to hide marital assets, my attorney said. We've also documented numerous instances where your client made disparaging comments about my client's financial acumen while actively concealing these accounts. Her lawyer, this young guy who looked like he was straight out of law school, kept glancing nervously at the evidence pile growing on the conference table. Perhaps we should discuss this privately with our clients, he suggested, tugging at his collar like it was suddenly too tight. No need, I said. I'm comfortable hearing everything. Wife finally spoke up. This is ridiculous. I was just protecting our assets. From whom? My attorney asked, not even looking up from his notes. That's when her lawyer whispered something to her, and I watched the realization hit her. They were screwed. She switched tactics immediately. Baby, this is all a misunderstanding, she said, reaching for my hand across the table, her voice going soft the way it does when she wants something. I was just reorganizing things. I pulled my hand back. The judge will find that interesting, especially with the recordings. What recordings? Her lawyer asked sharply. My attorney smiled. The kind of smile that costs you hundreds of thousands in law school to perfect. My client has audio recordings of your client explicitly stating her intention to hide assets, mocking him for being too stupid to find them, and detailing her plan to take everything in the divorce. Her lawyer looked like he'd swallowed something sour. We'll need to verify the legality of these recordings. Single party consent state, my attorney replied. Completely admissible. The meeting ended with her lawyer asking for time to reassess their position. As we were leaving, wife grabbed my arm in the hallway, her nails digging in through my jacket sleeve. Why are you doing this? She hissed. You're supposed to be the nice one. The pushover. I just looked at her. That's your first mistake. You never really knew me at all. When I got home, well, to Mike's, I found a missed call from our neighbor. Emma had been at the house, apparently throwing things around. I drove over and found she'd been there all right, clothes thrown around, drawers emptied, my gaming setup missing components. Classic tantrum behavior. Like taking my PC power cord is somehow going to help her case? This morning, her lawyer called again requesting a settlement conference. They're suddenly eager to resolve this amicably. My attorney thinks they're in damage control mode, especially since Emma's father is a prominent businessman in our community who sits on like 3 different charity boards. The settlement proposal they sent over is laughable, offering me basically what I'm legally entitled to anyway, acting like it's some generous concession. My attorney sent back our counteroffer, including compensation for legal fees and the value of my damaged or missing property. I'm not being vindictive, just fair. Meanwhile, Emma has been telling our friends I'm being vindictive and cruel. 3 of them called to ask what's really going on. When I played them the recording of her at dinner, 2 immediately apologized for believing her. The third, her best friend Melanie, hung up on me. Whatever. She and Emma deserve each other. The most surprising call came from my father-in-law this evening. We've always gotten along well, fishing trips, watching games together when Emma would roll her eyes and go shopping with her mom instead. I raised her better than this, he said, sounding tired. I don't know what she was thinking. Neither do I, TBH, I replied. I never gave her any reason to think I'd try to take advantage of her in a divorce. We could have just split things fairly and moved on. He was quiet for a moment. Some people can't handle losing, even when there's nothing to win. Deep, right? Didn't expect that from a guy whose idea of profound is usually commenting on a good golf swing. Today, I'm packing up the rest of my stuff from Mike's and moving into a furnished apartment temporarily. I don't trust Emma not to pull something while this plays out. The lease is month to month, which feels appropriate given how up in the air everything is. It's strange. I'm not even angry anymore, just disappointed and tired. The woman I loved for 8 years never really existed. Like, did she always see me as some clueless idiot she could manipulate? Was anything real? Her latest text, you made your point. Let's just stop this before we destroy each other. Too late for that. She pulled the pin on this grenade. I'm just making sure I don't get caught in the blast. We'll update again when there are significant developments. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and things have moved faster than I expected. Buckle up. After our lawyers' meeting, Emma realized her take-him-for-everything strategy had backfired spectacularly. So she switched to plan B, reconciliation. I started receiving flowers at work. Like, expensive arrangements with cards saying things like I'm so sorry and please talk to me. My coworkers were giving me weird looks, especially since I told them we were getting divorced. Try explaining to your team lead why your soon-to-be ex is sending you roses during a sprint meeting. Then came the handwritten letters about how she'd made a terrible mistake and just got scared about the future. She even brought up our third date story. We got caught in a thunderstorm walking back from a restaurant and ended up ducking into a bookstore for 2 hours, both of us soaking wet, laughing as we browsed novels we'd never read. The most dramatic was her surprise visit to my brother's place last Saturday. I was out grabbing coffee, but Mike said she was literally crying on the doorstep, mascara running down her face, holding Thor, who looked thoroughly unimpressed with the whole situation. My brother, bless him, just stood there with his arms crossed. He's not available, he said, then closed the door. He's never really liked Emma, always said she talked to me like I was one of her interns instead of her husband. The text barrage that followed was something else. I can't believe you're being so cold. After 8 years, I deserve a conversation at least. You're acting like I committed some horrible crime. I brought Thor to see you and you wouldn't even open the door. I didn't respond, just forwarded everything to my attorney. He advised radio silence, saying any communication could be twisted. Smart guy. Meanwhile, the financial investigation kept uncovering more layers. Turns out Emma had been planning this for longer than I thought. Almost a year of methodical transfers, account setups, and consultations with financial advisors about protecting assets from a spouse. One of those advisors actually reached out to my lawyer with documentation after he realized what she was trying to do. Apparently, she told him I had a gambling problem. I don't. The most I've ever bet was $50 in a fantasy football league that I've been in with college buddies for like 15 years, and that I was financially abusive. The advisor got suspicious when none of her claims checked out and she kept pushing for ways to hide money. The real bombshell dropped 3 days ago. My attorney called with news. Your wife's lawyer just withdrew from representing her, he said, sounding like he was trying not to laugh. Apparently, she lied to her own attorney about several accounts. When he discovered this, after our settlement talk stalled, he couldn't continue representing her without being party to fraud. This sent her into a tailspin. She showed up at my workplace, creating such a scene that security had to escort her out. I work at a pretty chill tech company, but even they have limits. My boss was cool about it, but suggested I work from home for a few days until things settle down. Last night, I got a call from her sister, Caroline, who I've always been cool with. We used to go running together on weekends before Emma started saying it was weird that I spent time with her sister without her. I'm so sorry, Caroline said. I had no idea she was doing this. According to Caroline, Emma had been bragging to their family about how she was securing her future and how I was too trusting to question her. Apparently, she'd been telling them for months that I was financially irresponsible, news to me, and that she needed to protect herself. The most surreal part? Emma's new lawyer. Yes, she found someone else, this aggressive guy who specializes in high-conflict divorces according to his website. He called mine claiming I had coerced her into making those recordings by manipulating her emotions. My attorney actually laughed. So your client was manipulated into admitting she was hiding assets by the man she described as too stupid to find them? Interesting theory. The settlement conference is scheduled for tomorrow. My attorney says given everything that's come to light, we're in an extremely strong position. Not that I want to crush her, I just want what's fair and to move on with my life. Father-in-law called again today. He sounded defeated. She's always been stubborn, he said. When she realized what you used to do for a living, well, I've never seen her so angry. She feels like you tricked her. By not discussing a previous job? I asked, genuinely confused. It's not like I hid it, it just never came up much. By letting her underestimate you, he replied. Pride was always her downfall. I've started therapy to deal with all this. My therapist, this calm woman with gray hair and reading glasses who somehow always asks exactly the right question, asked what I missed most about my marriage. The answer surprised me, not my wife, not our life together, but the person I thought she was. That person never existed. Tomorrow is going to be tough. I'll update after the settlement conference. Final update. It's been a month since the settlement conference, and I can finally say this chapter of my life is closing. Here's how everything played out. The settlement conference was scheduled for 9 a.m. at this sterile conference room in my attorney's building. I arrived early, feeling surprisingly calm. I'd prepared for war but was honestly just ready for peace. At 8:55, my attorney got a call. Emma was running late. By 9:30, her new lawyer arrived alone looking uncomfortable in an ill-fitting suit and smelling faintly of cigarettes. My client is indisposed, he explained vaguely. We later found out she'd had some sort of meltdown that morning and refused to attend. Caroline told me Emma had stayed up all night drinking wine and calling friends for support, sympathy, then couldn't pull herself together in the morning. Rescheduled for the following week. During that week, something shifted. Maybe reality finally sank in, or maybe her parents intervened. Her dad called me once more, not giving details but saying, we've had some family discussions. When we reconvened, Emma was a different person, subdued, almost shell-shocked. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail instead of her usual perfect blowout. She barely spoke, just nodded as her lawyer presented the revised settlement offer. The terms were fair, better than fair actually. A clean 50-50 split of our legitimate marital assets, with her returning all the hidden funds to be divided properly. I would keep my retirement accounts intact. She would keep the house with an equalization payment to me. We'd each take our own vehicles. She also agreed to cover 70% of my legal fees. As we were signing the preliminary documents, she finally spoke directly to me. I don't understand why you didn't fight back sooner, she said quietly. All those times I made decisions without you or talked over you with our friends, you just took it. I respected you, I replied. I thought we were partners making joint decisions. I never saw it as letting you do anything. She looked away. My dad always said I was too controlling. I thought he was being sexist. Sometimes it's not about gender, I replied. It's just about respect. After the papers were signed, her lawyer left quickly. Emma lingered, seeming lost in the too large conference room. For what it's worth, she said finally, I didn't start hiding money because I stopped loving you. I started because I was scared of ending up with nothing. So you decided to do the destroying first? I asked. She had no answer for that. Father-in-law was waiting in the lobby. He gave me a firm handshake. You handled this with more grace than she deserved, he said. I want you to know we don't blame you. I don't blame her either, I replied. Not anymore. And that was mostly true. The anger had burned out, leaving just a hollow sadness for what could have been. The divorce was finalized last week, record speed, thanks to our agreement. I moved into a new apartment downtown, closer to work. It's one of those converted warehouse spaces with exposed brick and concrete floors. Not really my style, but it's growing on me. I've started reconnecting with friends I'd lost touch with. Turns out Emma had been slowly isolating me from people she didn't approve of, and even joined a hiking group to get out more on weekends. My therapist says I'm processing things in a healthy way. Sometimes I believe her. The financial aftermath was significant but not devastating. I recovered most of what was rightfully mine. The offshore accounts have been closed, the hidden funds returned and divided. My credit took a hit, but it's improving. The social fallout has been mixed. Some friends chose sides, mostly hers. Others have tried to stay neutral, which is awkward but I appreciate the effort. Her family, surprisingly, has maintained contact. Caroline texts occasionally to check on me, and father-in-law invited me to golf next month, saying divorce ends marriages, not all relationships. The weirdest thing? Thor showed up at my apartment last week. Just sitting outside my door when I got home from work. Must have escaped from the house, though it's a good 5 miles away. No idea how he found me. Emma reluctantly agreed to let me keep him after that. He's made his choice, she texted. He's purring on my lap as I type this. As for my ex-wife, I heard she's selling the house and moving to another state, possibly to work for a cousin's business. Yesterday, I received a handwritten letter from her. It was short. I'm sorry for who I became in our marriage and how I treated you. You deserve better. I'm getting help to understand why I did what I did. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed you to know. I haven't decided if I'll respond. Some closure is better left unchallenged. The strangest part of all this? I'm okay. Better than okay. There's a certain freedom in discovering your worst fears and surviving them. I thought losing my marriage would destroy me, but it didn't. I thought discovering my wife's betrayal would break my heart irreparably, but hearts are tougher than we think. Last week, a colleague asked if I regretted hiring such an aggressive attorney given how much it cost. I told her what my therapist told me. Sometimes the price of peace is standing your ground. I stood my ground. I got my peace. And now, finally, I'm moving forward. This will be my final update. Time to start writing new stories instead of rehashing old ones. Edit. Some have asked if I learned anything from all this. Yeah. Trust your gut. Document everything. And remember that letting someone treat you poorly isn't being understanding, it's being a doormat. Also, how someone treats you says more about them than it does about you. And if anyone needs me, I'll be teaching Thor not to attack my feet at 5:30 every morning. Some battles you just can't win.